Okay, so I'll tell you a bit about the Hubs program, and then feel free to ask any questions later. But so a little bit about Crew first, which is the organization that I work with that is hosting the Hubs program. We're a grassroots organization, a nonprofit based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and our goal is to build equitable, inclusive climate resilience um, through education, service, and planning. So we see a lot that people involved in the climate movement are um, like often middle class or upper middle class and often white, and we really want to make it more inclusive of people of color and low income people, as well as other groups. So um, just that in general, it's sort of we want to make sure that the people who are most vulnerable to climate impacts are able to have a voice in the planning that goes on um, and the just a say in how their neighborhoods respond to climate change and how their neighborhoods want to prepare for it. So Crew is part of Better Future Project, which is a larger organization that works to um, address the climate crisis in a broader sense, including 350 Mass, which um, does some advocacy and political work, and Divest Ed, which works with colleges to divest from fossil fuels, as well as they do some other things too, and then Crew. So Crew does a bunch of things, but the one main program that we do is the Climate Resilience Hubs, which are community institutions that help people prepare for and respond to extreme weather events. So on the left is St. Stephen's Episcopal Church in Boston, and on the right is Evanston Public Library in right outside of Chicago. And in total, we have 65 climate resilience hubs, actually slightly more because we just have gotten some in the last week or so. Um, the vast majority are libraries at the moment because of two partnerships that we have, one with the Massachusetts library system and one with the American Library Association. So a lot of hubs have signed on through those partnerships. But we're also starting to see more faith communities joining um, a few different nature centers through the Mass Audubon Nature Centers and some other groups joining as well. And really, the program is open to anybody, just as long as you have a physical building and people come through that building, um, and you can educate them about climate resilience, that's what we ask. So what does it take to be a climate resilience hub? There are three main requirements that we have. Um, the first is displaying a little decal or sticker saying that you are a hub, and that's this thing right up here. Making climate preparedness information available to visitors. So I can show you in a minute, but Crew has a Google Drive with a bunch of resources, including about 15 or 20 brochures on what to do in the event of a flood, in the event of a heat wave, um, how to prepare for extreme weather, um, how older adults can prepare, people with disabilities, how mental health relates to extreme weather, all different topics. And we just ask that you put out information that you think is going to be most relevant to your community. And then the third thing is hosting at least one event a year that's related to climate preparedness. So we have pretty loose guidelines for the event, just that as long as it's educating your community about how they can be prepared for climate change or just helping them being more prepared for the impacts of climate change. Within that, anything you can imagine is great. And then if you want to do more than those three things, that's also that's also great, but it's definitely not required. Although I should say these are like the three main requirements, and we have like some more things that are more general, like thinking about equity in your work, um, and like communicating with crew if there's things that we need to know, designating a contact person, filling out an annual survey. Um, so, and I'll get to that in a minute. In a few minutes, the more specific requirements. Um, but these are like the big three. So we're hoping in the future to have some different levels of hubs. Right now we have one level up and running, which is um, the education level. So like hosting one event a year and the displaying brochures. And then in the future, we're also hoping to have other levels. The second, doing all of those things as well as providing direct support to your community during extreme weather events. So like um, providing, for instance, air conditioning if there's a heat wave. I know some libraries are already doing that and in a good position to do that. Providing like electricity if there's a power outage, um, maybe having a medical kit on site. And we're still figuring out what specific requirements we're going to have for the different levels and how much of it will be up to hubs versus how much crew is saying we want you to do. Um, and then the third level is going to be like all of that, but also serving as an overnight shelter during extreme weather events. So, like, for instance, during cold spells, hosting people overnight who might not have somewhere to go. But right now, it's just the first level that we can support. Although some hubs do do provide AC during a heat wave or electricity during a power outage, but um, just not formally through our program. And then in terms of the support that we can give to hubs, we have a Google Drive with different digital resources. We're not able to provide print resources right now. It's possible that in the future we will, but we can ask that you either um, share the resources digitally or print them out if you can, um, the ones that you feel are relevant. So this is our Google Drive that we give hubs access to, and I'll show you some of the brochures. We have some, we're starting to translate them into other languages. We have most in Spanish, a few in Portuguese. Um, so we're working on that. Let's see. I'll show you one about flooding, just as an example. Um, so it's like generally the brochures say uh, like some general information about the weather event, um, maybe some facts, and then they usually have like a what to do before a flood or before the weather event, during and after. Um, and then let's see. Well, ticks isn't a weather event, but ticks are becoming more common in northern states because of climate change, and so that's why we have a flyer on that. But a little bit of information about ticks and the diseases that they spread, and then again, like before you go outside, if you get a tick, um, monitoring symptoms afterwards. I'll show you one more. Here's a flyer about checking in on neighbors during an extreme weather event, which is actually one of the most important things that you can do. Um, so, like, shows a bit about why to do that, and then like some ideas for creating a phone tree. Um, I'm gonna stop there with the brochures, but we also have like presentations you can use. Um, a couple are still under development, and then like um, video lists, a list of videos, book lists, a lot of different resources, some advice about how to connect with local emergency managers too. So that's one thing. We'll mail you a decal sticker that you can put on your window. And then we have hub meetings every other month, which are optional, but they're a good way to meet other hubs, um, to like get updates from crew, and there'll often be special topics at those meetings. And then we have a listserv right now, like just an email list to communicate with hubs and where hubs can communicate with each other. And maybe we'll have another platform in the future as well. Oops, that's not what I want. Sorry about that. Um, okay. So if you're interested in becoming a hub, the next steps would be, well, attending an info session or meeting with me, which you're doing right now, um, and then signing an MOU with crew, which is down here, and I'll show you a zoomed in version in a minute, and then filling out just like I call it an application form, but it really should take just like 5 or 10 minutes just to get your information. So the MOU has like what the hub agrees to, which is the one event per year, um, and then like displaying the brochures, either print or digitally, displaying the decal, um, committing yourself to incorporating climate resilience and thinking about um, people who are most vulnerable to climate impacts, um, keeping people informed about the climate crisis and what to do, thinking about if there are other things beyond education that you want to do, um, having a contact person or a hub liaison to communicate with crew and that crew can communicate with, and then filling out an annual survey. And so after the event, I'll send you some like information um, about what to do, or so I'll send you the MOU and what to do next, the MOU, the application, and I'll also send these slides out. And then it goes into what crew agrees to. Um, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through this, but I will send this to you after. And then what we both agree to. So, um, committing to climate resilience, emergency preparedness, and assistance to our communities in the face of extreme weather events, um, sharing best practices and feedback about what works or doesn't work, supporting people who are like impacted the most by climate change, and then striving towards this humane society where everybody is like met by a caring community um, and considered when we're thinking about climate impacts. So, oops, it's not Julia, it's just me. But I'll put my email and phone in the chat for later if you'd like to contact me. Um, but that's all for the presentation part. And then I want to know if you have questions. So let me stop sharing and stop the recording.